Have you ever woken up and felt like you have just been living on autopilot for weeks? Even getting out of bed feels like you're climbing a mountain and you just feel unmotivated and stuck. You see all these videos saying exit your lazy girl era and you just feel nothing that you can do is helping you get out of this place. You may be in a slump. In today's video, I'm going to tell you the exact process of how I got out of the worst slump of my life last year and how I could prevent it from even happening again. Okay, so first we need to identify the cause. Like, why did you get into the slump in the first place? Because when we find out why, it will help us break out of the slump. So I want you to grab a pen, grab a journal, and start just brain dumping. I know you've seen a million videos saying all the important things about journaling, but that's not what we're doing here. The reason why I want you to journal is so we can find the pieces that click as to why you may be in the slump. So maybe you're just really burnt out at work and you don't realize it yet. Or maybe you've been saying yes to friends and family too much and you can't take it anymore. Whatever it is, write it down so that we can find out how we can get out of the slump. So first, identify why you're in the slump in the first place. The second thing we're going to do is change our mindsets. You are not lazy. I don't care how many lazy girl era videos you watch. I'm telling you right now, you are not lazy. You are going through something right now. And I want you to feel self-compassion. As a Virgo, as someone who's extremely critical of myself, feeling self-compassion is one of the hardest things to do. But you need to feel some self-compassion so that you can pull yourself out of the slump. Because calling yourself lazy isn't going to get you out of the slump. Understanding that you are in a slump for a reason will help you get out of the slump. It is so important for you to become your own best friend right now. And would you call your best friend lazy? Maybe, but a lot of us wouldn't because it would be rude. So talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. I want you to encourage yourself instead of being hard on yourself. I want you to be your own cheerleader because even the smallest steps will help you get out of this slump. That is something that's so important to understand because when I was in a slump, I would watch all these 20-step skincare routines and all the vitamins I needed to take. And I'm like, man, I could barely get out of bed. I can't take 20 vitamins and have a 10-step care routine right now. I need to take the simplest approach. So right now, we're going really simple and we're changing our mindset. We're holding compassion for ourselves and we're going to be our own best friend, our own cheerleader. And you're going to talk to yourself like you talk to your dog, like you talk to a child, and you're going to show yourself so much love because that's how you're going to pull yourself out. It is you versus you, and you need to be on your side. The very fact that you're watching this video shows me that you're not lazy because you are actively trying to pull yourself out of this slump. So let's be nice to ourselves, let's have self-compassion, and we're going to start by changing our mindset. Instead of saying, I'm stuck and nothing is working, I can never get out of this, I want you to remember this quote that I heard from Ryan Holiday. This moment is not your life. This is a moment in your life. Something like that. In order for you to get out of the slump, you need to think that you can, because if you don't think that you can, you won't take the action to try. So we're changing our mindset, we're identifying the cause, and we're going to figure out how we're going to get out of this slump. Next, we are going to take back control. And I know that may be difficult to hear. When you're in a slump, it could feel like life is happening to you. And this isn't about putting blame on yourself. It's about taking action on the things that you can control. So ask yourself, where can I control something in my life that will help me get out of the slump? Tiny little thing I could do today that will help me feel a little bit better. Is it going outside? Is it eating something healthy? Is it washing your face, taking a shower, brushing your teeth? It doesn't have to be big, but ask yourself, what is in my control? I can't control the news, but what can I control in my life today that will help me get out of a slump? And you can't control if that guy's going to text you back. You literally cannot. So don't send a message. Don't send a long essay, please. But what you can control is getting out and doing something. That's what you can control. Maybe your job feels so draining to you. Can you update your resume and start working on your LinkedIn connections? Like you don't even have to apply to anything. Just start adding some people on LinkedIn. Maybe it's that you just feel like super unhealthy and you have been eating really just poorly and feeling just like meh. Can you order like Factor or some sort of meal service that's going to give you the pre-made meals that are healthy? Or maybe you just feel like you've been doing the same thing every day and you just need to have a refreshed routine. What can you do that you can control? The key thing here is the tiny little things that you can control. You know that book, Atomic Habits, that is like on every New York Times best-selling book for the last like 5 years? If you read the bottom of Atomic Habits, he says, tiny habits, remarkable changes. It's not about doing the big things. It's about the little things that will help you get out of this slump. For myself, I have been on both extreme sides of the slump, where I'll be on one side where I feel like I need to completely overhaul my life and I need to do everything I possibly possibly can do till I'm blue in the face to try to get me out of this slump. And I've also been on the other end where I just feel so overwhelmed, so I do nothing at all, and I just feel stuck. Like I feel like I can't do anything, so I do nothing. And what I've learned from the cycle of being in a slump and getting out of it is that neither of those approaches have worked. What has worked is doing small, little, sustainable things that have helped me get out of a slump and being very, very gentle and very patient with myself the entire process of doing this. So I remember last year when I was in my deepest slump, I would go and be like, today is the day I'm gonna get out of my slump. And I would write this like massive to-do list, like 30 things on my to-do list. And I'm like, tomorrow I'm gonna go do all these things because today I can't do anything. And then tomorrow would come around and I wouldn't do anything because I would look at that list tomorrow with the same attitude as yesterday and be like, I can't do this. This is just too much. I cannot do any of this stuff. And then another day would go by and another day would go by. And I kept looking at this long list and I kept feeling overwhelmed and I kept doing nothing. And then one day when I gained a lot of weight, I was just so sick of myself and just so tired of being tired. I looked in the mirror and I said, you know what? Just go outside for a walk. Just go walk around the block for 10 minutes. And then I pulled myself out and I did a 10-minute walk, and that 10-minute walk turned to a 20-minute walk, a 30-minute walk, and those just progressed over time. And now I'm like walking an hour and a half because it made me feel so good just to get the fresh air and to leave my house. And when I would say, I'm going to go eat so healthy and I'm going to do all these things, and I would like look into the grocery store and see all the healthy stuff, I'm like, okay, I don't know what's healthy anymore. There's a million diets, and I just would order pizza. I would just order pizza, lay on the couch, and do nothing. And it was through just doing small things. Like, you know what? I don't feel like cooking. I don't feel like cooking, so I'm going to order a meal delivery service that makes me healthy foods. Or I would get the pre-made healthy food in the grocery store. And then that would make me want to eat another healthy food because it made me feel better about myself and I felt good. And that just all stacked on to each other. Change your environment. And I know when you already feel so low, it could be hard to change your environment, but I am telling you, step outside and go to the coffee shop. I'm not talking about doing an overhaul in your life. I'm talking about go to the local coffee shop, go to the library. Do you remember libraries? I feel like we forgot about libraries. I definitely forgot about libraries. But I actually went to a library and I was like, wow, it's been a while since I've been in here. Go to one. Just being in a coffee shop helped me feel less alone. And I wasn't even talking to anybody. I would like just say hi to the barista, but it was just getting outside of my same routine that helped me feel better, and being in a place that felt vibrant and people were talking to each other and engaging with one another, and it just smelled good and just like I just felt active. Just like changing my environment really helped me get out of a slump. So change your environment. It could be just the smallest thing, like stepping outside of your house. It could be going outside for 15 minutes, but change your environment. And if you don't feel up to changing your environment and getting outside the house, can you change something in your house? Can you move your couch a little bit? Can you move the direction of your bed or open your window? These little things. I am telling you right now, I hated my home office for so long because it reminded me of an old job, and I just would avoid going inside of there. And then I just seriously, all I did was change the direction of my desk to where it faced in the window. It felt like I was in a new office. It literally felt like I was in a new office. I didn't have to spend any money to do this, and I didn't even have to leave my house, but just changing the direction of the desk gave me a new energetic feel. So change something in your environment, and that will also help you get out of a slump. Practice self-care. When you are in a slump, self-care is not an option. It is absolutely necessary. And unfortunately, when we're in a slump, self-care is like the last thing we want to do because, again, it feels overwhelming. You don't want to do the 10-step routine. You don't want to go take a nice long bath. I get it. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about the truest forms of self-care. I'm talking about get some good sleep. Like, go to bed early. Put an alarm on your phone to go to sleep and go to bed early and get in that 8 hours of rest, 7 hours, even 6. When I was in a slump, I wouldn't sleep because I would be up on TikTok all night, and it would be 4 a.m. I'm on some sort of TikTok drama. It would lead to a tired tomorrow, and then it would just lead me into being more tired, and it was just like this whole really bad cycle. Get some rest. And real self-care is also setting boundaries. Like when people are taking too much of your time or work is just having you work longer than you should, set boundaries with people. Quote from Brianna Wiest, who made the book, The Mountain Is You, 101 Essays That Change Your Life. Like, I'm sure you've seen her books everywhere, where she talks about how self-care is not just champagne and chocolate and bubble baths. Self-care is about living in a life that's like in alignment with you. She talks about how self-care is like making a budget and setting boundaries and like doing these things that are actually integral to into your livelihood. So practice self-care. And yes, please, I run a bath, take a nice shower, do those things if that makes you feel better. I love doing those things, but they are not what got me out of a slump. And that was the thing that I really found out, because I kept saying like, but I'm going to the spa, but I'm doing this. Why do I not feel better? And it's because I wasn't saying no. I didn't have boundaries. I was overworking. It didn't matter how many massages I got. It didn't matter, because I was saying no to myself all the time. Nourish your body with the foods that make you feel good. This isn't about feeling guilty for eating foods that taste delicious. When you know that when you eat that certain kind of food and it makes you feel sluggish on top of you already being in a slump, let's not do that. Let's order some food that makes us feel fueled inside of our body. Literally stretch. Go on YouTube and watch a yoga video on how to do a 5-minute stretch routine, 1-minute stretch routine. Just move your body and get that good energy flowing back into your body. Because for me, when I was in a slump, there was no movement. There was laying in the bed. There was ordering the pizza. There was scrolling on TikTok. And that just made me stay in the slump so much longer, because it seemed like the thing that was the most comfortable thing to do in the moment. It seemed like the thing that felt like the safest thing to do in the moment. But that's why we have to start small, with a little stretch routine, with a little quick shower, with a little healthy dinner, like just stuff like that. That will help you get out of your slump. Give yourself a few days to just slow down. If you are feeling guilty for taking the time to rest, please don't. You need the rest so that you can get back up. But the key part is to get back up. Allow the time of true self-care to recharge you, and then we get back up, because the longer you stay in the slump, the harder it is to get out of the slump. That's what I found out from being in a slump for a really long time. And when you catch yourself in there for too long, get yourself back up. Get yourself back up, but give yourself time first to rest. There's one thing I want you to know from my experience of being in slumps and getting out of them and learning my lesson, is that it is more uncomfortable to stay in a slump than it is to actively work to get out of it. Because when you look at your calendar and you see that it's been 6 months, or it's been 1 month, or it's been a year that you've been in a slump, that's when it really, really, really stings. But when you have to feel that uncomfortability for that 10 minutes to go outside and to move your body, or that uncomfortability to set a boundary with a friend that is really draining your energy, that is nothing in comparison to when you feel uncomfortable for staying stuck for a very long time. And I've learned that my own self, so I can share that. So rest, recharge, but then let's keep going. Recognize the signs. Have you ever felt yourself slipping into a slump before it fully hits? I know I definitely have. And the signs for me, my deliveries get a lot more. I'll look at my Uber Eats and I'll see like, I've been ordering takeout more than I usually do. And I'll look around and my laundry is piling up and my house is just overall messy. Those are the signs for me when I realize I'm starting to get into a slump. So recognize the signs in yourself that's unique to everyone, that starts showing you that you may be getting into a slump. Because when you recognize the signs, you're able to just pause, stop, and be like, where are we going here? What direction am I moving in here? And you're able to redirect yourself and give yourself the things that you need. If it's, overworking, you're burnt out, or not listening to your boundaries, you're able to start readjusting the path so you don't have to go deep into the path. That was a huge lesson for me, because when I found myself getting into that slump over and over and over again, I started thinking through my reflecting and my journaling, like, why is this continuously happening? And I realized too, like, whenever I didn't respect my boundaries, and that would add on to like not saying no and not saying no and not saying no, and it would just like keep layering on top of each other, and then my clothes would just get messy, my house would get messy, my food would be really unhealthy, and I would start to see that there's a correlation between the two. And so now I look at my calendar, I'm like, you know what, I'm saying yes to too many things. This is gonna overwork me, this is gonna make me feel burnt out, there's too many projects going on at once. So now I'm able to plan accordingly. So recognize the signs within yourself, and when you go back to point 1 as to like identifying what gets you in a slump in the first place, it will help you recognize when you are starting to get into one before it really hits. And most importantly, be gracious to yourself. I know when you're in a slump, you can really judge yourself harshly, and you could feel embarrassed, and you could feel like, why is this happening? Why do I keep doing this? I must be lazy. And you could just start really talking negatively to yourself. I want you to be gracious to yourself and also understand that sometimes slumps are showing you parts in your life that you need to readjust, rework, and redirect. For me personally, when I was burnt burnt out in a slump, the slump taught me about my boundaries. The slump taught me about the career that I was unhappy in. The slump taught me so much about myself that I'm actually thankful for some of my slumps because they taught me how I needed to move on from my life. It was like a huge red stop sign, like, hey, listen up, you're ignoring this part of yourself. So I know it could feel frustrating when you're in it. I totally understand that, but be gracious to yourself and treat yourself like your own best friend while you're in this process. When you start to pull yourself out of it, you could start to reflect as to what was this slump trying to show me. Maybe that guy not texting me back was a good thing. Maybe that feeling burnt out, maybe this is showing me I'm really unhappy in my career path, or maybe it's showing me that I'm having unhealthy boundaries with my friends and family. Your slump can be teaching you something. So be gracious to yourself throughout this process. So give yourself that gift of compassion and know that movement and progress, even in the smallest amount, is still movement and progress. If this video has helped you, please let me know in the comments what is one actionable thing you will do today to help you get out of your slump. If you're ready for actionable habits, please stay tuned for my next video on the 10 small micro habits to help you get out of your slump. And I'm talking about super tiny habits.